Hello and welcome to Helping Other People Excel, which spells hope, helping other people excel. We are glad to come into your homes today and spend a half an hour and hopefully give you some hope and encouragement. My name is Jim Pate and I'm your show host today. And we get some new equipment. WCET just recently upgraded all their cameras and everything, so we're coming to you in high definition today. So if you notice that I don't look exactly like I did before, hopefully I look better now than I'm hoping it'll correct the wide and tall issue I was having when I put my videos on YouTube, where we archive them. In the past, with the analog system, when it switched to the widescreen, it tended to make me look even shorter than I already am. I really can't afford that, and and of course it made me look a little wider because of that too. So not that I'm heavy, but you know, I have been, and I looked heavy in the video, so hopefully we'll correct that with this. And it's wonderful to have all this new technology and new equipment here, and just wish you could all be looking at it from my view and seeing all this new cameras and new screens and stuff, and it's really pretty cool. So we're grateful to WCET for putting our show on the air and for producing it. JB and Ben are our engineers in the background there, and they're making all this stuff happen and putting it all together, making it work. And so we really want to thank them for their part in producing our show and making it happen for you. So again, we're hoping to, it's our goal to bring hope into your lives today and share a little bit of encouragement with you. And before we get into that, I want to share with you my sponsors. In Hope, we try to bring encouragement to your spirit, to uplift your hearts and give you encouragement. But of course, our spirit is only one part of the three. We have body, mind, and spirit, body, soul, and spirit, whatever. And so some of our sponsors help on some of those other aspects. What we can't cover, they can kind of cover for us. The first is pampermenaturally.com, and they carry a fine selection of hand soaps, skin lotions, and lip balms, and essential oils, and things of that nature to help improve your skin. If your skin could talk, it would say "Pamper Me Naturally." So we want to thank Pamper Me Naturally for the fine work that they're doing in promoting health and nutrition for our skin and our bodies in that area. And then in the other area, we have Perry's Place up in Cedar Springs on 90 North Main Street. Perry has a nice little store of fine herbs and teas and more. And he tries to help other people with their nutrition and health needs. They have a lot of fine things, products to help you with that. The essential oils, the aromatherapy, the massage therapy, various different things to help you with the problems you might be having with your body. And so we really attempt to try and minister to you in that area through Perry and Perry's Place. And we want to thank him for sponsoring or being a sponsor of our show. I saw a picture the other day that really inspired me and gave me courage and hope, because so many times we feel like we're just one person in the sea of life. And what can one person do? What is it that one person can have an effect, or maybe just a small few group of people? What kind of effect can we all have? And you know, many times in the past I've worked with other people to try and change our world, and oftentimes we start our show off with a little quote from an unknown monk in early, 1100 I think it was AD, about how I wanted to change the world. And you know, it seems like that there's a few of us that want to do that, and it just seems like such a big chore, so insurmountable, because we just don't seem to have the energy or the resources or the things that we need, and it seems like we're just a few, and who all is listening, and it's so very seldom that we really know who all is listening, kind of like the TV show here with WCET and Public Access here in Hudsonville. But we really don't know unless you call in how many of you are listening. So we really encourage you to call in and or write to us in an email. My email address is jim.pate@gmail.com, and JB will be nice enough to put that on the screen for us. Our phone number is 616-799-0517. And so if you call and let us know if we've been a blessing to you, if we've encouraged you in any way, we certainly would like to hear that. But the quote here is attributed to a gal named Margaret Mead, and I've heard it also attributed to others, so I really don't know exactly who had the quote, but it's got a really beautiful picture of a sunset and everything, and it says, "Never believe that a few caring people can't change the world, for indeed, that's all who ever have." And, you know, that was such an encouragement to me that I'm still making a difference, and that, you know, this little show, even though it's in a small local area, doesn't reach out very far. We cover Hudsonville, Granville, and Jenison, I believe, on the public access channel. So you can't just get it anywhere, but you can also stream it on wcet-tv.org. Yes, that's it. And maybe JB can put that on the screen too. But you can stream it live there, or lately we've been trying to archive them on YouTube, so that if you missed a show, you can go back to YouTube and you can search under Jim Pate and helping other people excel, and you'll be able to find our show there and see some of our back shows, as well as catch up with the current ones. And so anyway, that's a nice plus for those, and we can reach out a little further because of that. Maybe reach a few more people than what we were reaching in the Hudsonville, Jenison, Granville area. But you know, it really struck my heart, and it encouraged me that being one person and having this little show for you folks, maybe I'm helping one person. Maybe that one person will go out and reach another couple people, and maybe that couple people will somehow go out and reach 5 more or 10 more. And really, that's the way, you know, our world is today. We start the trend. We make one small change. And the beauty of that is that in that little poem about how I wanted to change the world, the monk finally determines that after trying to change all the many things in the world, that the only thing he really could change was himself. And that he realized that in changing himself, if he would have done that earlier, well, and even at that stage, he would have changed his family and his community and his nation and ultimately the world. It reminds me of a quote that I heard not too long ago from a fella, and he said that there's two good times to plant an oak tree. One was 30 years ago, and the other one is now. And you know how true that really is too, is that you know, maybe we didn't get started as soon as we wanted to, maybe we didn't learn as quickly as we hoped we would, but we can still start today to plant that oak tree and make a difference, because it will indeed change the world eventually. Somebody's going to get to sit under that oak tree. A little boy might swing in its branches. Another little boy might climb the tree, and some young lovers might be inspired to have children of their own sitting under that tree and having a picnic. But so those things are really a blessing and an encouragement. And so when we change even just little things in ourselves, as much as just simply changing our attitude. I was working with Pastor Gary Meyer on his show, Heaven is My Home, and he talked about, you know, just changing your attitude to just the little changes, the choices that we make in our lives to choose to be happy, to choose to not get mad when somebody cuts us off in traffic or whatever else, you know, and those choices that we make, how all of our lives are based on those choices, and those choices can ultimately make a difference in others. And if we just choose to change that little bit in ourselves, that ultimately that can change the world. I'm reminded of a story in Wave Makers, a great book by Life Leadership, about a young boy that sat in a Sunday school class, and he was kind of a cut up in that class. And, you know, of course, that kind of reminds me of myself a little bit in my younger days. But, you know, how he sat and he listened under some great ministers, or one minister, and ultimately as he listened under that minister, it inspired him and it touched his heart. And he later on went on to become a minister, and he spoke, and people got saved in his ministry and so on. And it ultimately reached another young man who wound up being Billy Sunday, who then spoke and ministered to people's hearts, and other people got saved, and that led to maybe Billy Graham that got saved. And the great ministries that came about as a result of that one little boy who got inspired in that Sunday school class and learned some things and changed an attitude that changed a nation, that changed an entire world. And that's what Margaret Mead was saying in that so few people, it's always been a few people that have made a difference in the world. It's always been just a few, just a handful of tenacious people that just continued on in spite of all of the odds. I talked about and thought about young women who have gone into different career fields and how they had to overcome the odds of stereotypes and of racial, or not racial, but sexual prejudice. And of course, racial prejudices have played a part in other people too in our world. But, these people overcame those odds to go on to be doctors and surgeons and pilots and so on, and it wasn't easy for them. They had hardships to go through, but they persisted, they plugged on, they continued to try, and they ultimately not only changed their own world, but they changed the history for those to come, because now they set a precedence that a girl could be a pilot, or that a handicapped person could inspire people by being an inspirational speaker. I'm thinking of a young man that I see oftentimes on the internet who has very little for arms or legs, but yet he still water skis and he golfs and he just does amazing things because he's not going to let those handicaps hold him back. And when you look at people like that, you got to realize that if he can do that with the limitations and the handicaps that he has, I've got no excuse. I really need to buck up and make it happen, because I've got no reason to not. I've got so much more. God has blessed me with so many more abilities and talents and so many things that others don't have, and I need to be grateful for what I do and press through, press on, be persistent and make it happen, and ultimately be one of those few that changes the world. So I was also thinking about the gal from Montessori schools, how she was just one person and she had some ideas on how to change education, and that one person totally changed the education, the face of education from that time on, and how we learn and how we teach others. And she was a wave maker. She sent ripples through all of history by her actions, by her positive thinking, her persistence, her determination in spite of overwhelming odds of people that said she couldn't do it and that can't be done, and that's not the way for people to learn. They wanted to stick with the old traditional concepts, and so she had to fight all of that and overcome that. But that one person, and that's what I love about that Wavemaker's book from Life Leadership, is that it's a compilation of various people who, as individuals, really sent ripples through time. And, it gets back to that same thing that Margaret Mead said, that, never think that you are too small. Never think that you're not important enough or that you don't have enough influence, because it's always been the few all through history that have ultimately changed the world. It's been that little handful of persistent ones. And so I'm just, hoping to inspire you today that you too can be that way. But it does take a little bit of training, a little bit of learning, a little bit of practice. And I'm looking at another great little saying that shows some people rowing a canoe, one of those rowing, I don't know what you call it, competition maybe or something, where there's a bunch of people in one boat and they're all just going as fast as they can. And it says learning is like rowing upstream. If you stop, you'll go backwards. And how true that really is. Rob Robson of Life Leadership says that you're either ripening or you're rotting. There's two stages in life. And, if we're not ripening, if we're not getting better, then we're rotting and we're decaying and we're going backwards. And, if we're not rowing, if we're not paddling, if we're not constantly moving forward as we go through our daily routines and trying to educate ourselves and trying to get better, go that extra mile, do that little extra thing. If we're not doing that, then the tide or the current is going to be pulling us backwards, and we're going to go downstream instead of upstream. And of course, that kind of defeats the whole purpose. Jim Rohn says, I find it fascinating that most people plan their vacations with better care than they do their lives. And, you know, that one kind of made me sit down for a minute, and I thought about it, and I thought, wow, you know, how true that is. But then he goes on to say that perhaps it's because escape is easier than change. And, you know, change is not easy. Change is difficult, especially when it's trying to change the way we think, because we're so ingrained in how we think. We've been taught by our parents how to think. They've been taught by their parents. There's hundreds of years of doing it the wrong way, and then all of a sudden we've got to try and step up and do it the right way, and change our way of thinking and learn to be better, to do better things. And you know, we can't do better unless we know better. I believe it was Einstein that said, Albert Einstein, that to continue to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is the definition of insanity, you know, and it really makes sense. If you're not happy with your life, then you need to choose to do something different. You need to have new information. You need to have new input. And mentoring is so important in our world, because how would you know unless you've had experience? But yet, if you never get the experience, you'll never know. It's a catch-22 sort of a thing. But by mentoring, we get the advantage of having someone else's experience, and we can then avoid some of those pitfalls, and we can learn to do better from someone else who's been there, you know. So books is another great way that I really like as far as learning new techniques and new information and helping ourselves get better, because you can read a book that somebody might have written 200 years ago or 400 years ago, or Aristotle was way back in Greek days, you know, and the information that they accumulated in their lifetime, the trials and the errors that they made, mistakes that they made, we can learn from that and we can do better. And so, you know, we want to really try and improve ourselves, and so we have to look for new information. And that's my goal here, kind of, is to help you, to bring you hope by directing you to new information that was even new to me. I went through my 50-some years of my life and struggled. I was unhappy with where I was. I was unhappy with my progress. I didn't know why. I didn't have the right information, but I had no idea where to get the information. I got a bad itch today. Boy, I don't know what that means, but I wish it was my palm itch, and that means I'm supposed to come into money. But, you know, I didn't know where to get new information, so I kept doing the same old thing over and over again and expecting different results. And, you know, of course, we know where that gets you. You then feel like you're on the hamster wheel. You're just running every day as hard as you can run until you just get so exhausted you collapse at the end of the day and go, man, that was brutal. And then the alarm clock goes off after we've had what seems like 2 minutes of sleep, and we slap the thing and hit that snooze control and go, oh, no, I don't want to get up now. I got to get back on the hamster wheel again. I got to run all over again. I've got to go back to that job. I've got to go back to that rut that I'm in, which incidentally they say is a grave with the ends kicked out. That's a rut. If you're caught in one of those, you have my empathy. I don't just sympathize because I've been there. I know how that is. And so I empathize with you, and that's why I was inspired to start this show, to help bring people hope, helping other people excel, because I got new information that made a difference in my life. And that information, I would be not only remiss, but I would feel bad if I kept that information to myself and didn't share that with you, because, you know, it really did change my life. It's made a huge impact in my life. And I know that the rest of my life is going to be way better than the first half because I got this new information. And so I want to share that with you. That's what my show is all about. That's why I'm here spending this half an hour with you every week, because I want to inspire you. I want to encourage you. I want to uplift you and let you know that you can, even if you're that one person or if you're that small group, you can change the world. You just have to decide to do that, build up a little tenacity, a little bit of persistence, and go after it and make it happen, because you can and should make a difference. Granted, without the new information, you're going to be kind of stuck on that hamster wheel and not knowing how to go forward and where to go to make that next step. And so I've got a website here that you can go to, and JB will put that on the screen for us, and that will help you find the information that I found that truly changed my life and made me not only relieved from getting off this hamster wheel, but it made me excited and it gave me a new vigor toward life, because I now knew what I didn't know before. I now had a clear path that I could follow because other people had laid that out for me ahead of time. And that's just amazing in itself, to have that laid out and have somebody that was willing to share it to me. And I'm so grateful for them, and I'm so grateful to Life Leadership for all of the education and the learning that I've gotten from them, because it really has made a difference in my life, and I know it will make a difference in your life as well. But, Jim Rohn's point about doing a little bit of planning and how people better plan their vacation than they do their lives, that was, it hit me between the eyes. I was like, wow, how much planning have I put into my life? How many times have I sat down and said, okay, here's where I want to go. Here's the path. Here's where I'd like to end up. I'd like to define where it is I want to be first. And then I need to go out and learn that new information. And then I need to go out and do what I've learned to get to that goal. And, how many times have I planned a trip maybe to the Upper Peninsula, if you live here in Michigan, or, maybe a trip to visit the relatives in Kansas or in Florida or wherever. And we spend a lot of time prepping for that. We look up hotels online. We find out where the rates are and where's the best rates and which hotels are better and which ones aren't so good. And what's the best route to take and where's the construction. And, what kind of clothes should I pack? And, how many toothbrushes should I bring? Probably only need one toothbrush, but, change of clothes, whatever. What kind of clothes am I going to need when I get there? Is it going to a warmer climate or a colder climate? Am I going to need jackets or shorts? And all of these things we plan out meticulously. How long we're going to be gone, how much money we're going to need for that, and so on. And how much effort have we put into planning our lives, which is so much more important than just a trip to visit the relatives. Your future counts. It depends on how much planning you do and how much you learn, how much you educate yourself before you make this trip is going to determine where you're going to wind up. I like to compare it to maybe shooting a bow. It's hunting season coming up right now, and many of us are getting our bows tuned up or our guns tuned up so we can go out and get that buck, But how, when you pull that bow back and you get that arrow lined up, if you don't have a target to shoot for, what have you got? You're just shooting at nothing, And I've seen guys go out in the woods and they take their guns and they go bat, 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 bat. Okay, oh, that was fun, but what did it accomplish? Oh, it made me feel good, but, did I hit anything? Did I accomplish any goals? Did I hit the target? And it's the same way with our lives. When we pull back on that bow, we need a target to aim for. We need to show where that arrow is going to go so that we can actually hit something, okay? And if we don't do that and we don't put that planning into our lives, we're never going to get there because we've got nowhere to get. It's like Earl Nightingale says about filling up a ship with cargo and then starting the engines and not putting a crew on it and not having a destination for it and just letting it go in the harbor. What do you think's going to happen to that ship? Without any goals, without any direction, without a crew to guide it, without any planning for this vacation, it's going to wind up a derelict on some beach somewhere or on some reef or shoals, smashed and wrecked, and its cargo damaged, and that's what happens in our lives. And that's what happened in my life. For so many years, I just wandered aimlessly at whichever way the wind happened to blow my sailboat. I just went wherever that was. And I had no plan. I had no guidance. I spent way more time planning my vacation than I did planning my life. And so I really want to encourage you to plan your lives. Put some time in right now. Sit down and plan where it is you want to go and what it is you want to accomplish and the things that you want to change in life. Whatever your passion is, you need to find out what that is. What is your why? Because that's so important to where you're going to go, and it's so important to getting you there. You can go wherever you want to go, but you need to plot your course. You need to prepare. You need to do a little planning like you would if you were going to go to Florida for a spring break or something, or a cruise. You got to plan it a little bit. You got to put a little time into that. And so I really want to encourage you to give that some thought. Go to my website. There's just some amazing books there of good information that are available to you at a reasonable price, that will help you learn this stuff and help you plan your trip, that will help you learn to get better at communicating and getting along with others. And so many of them that I recommend all the time. I just recommended yesterday to a good friend of mine out west a book called Conflict Resolution, because he was having some arguments with some people and he really wanted to resolve that. They were people he cared about. He didn't want the hard feelings to go between them. He wanted to move forward in life, but he was being stopped by conflict. They were opposing each other, and it was costing him thousands of dollars and a lot of trouble and so on. And so I recommended to him, I said, get this book, Conflict Resolution. It'll teach you how to meet with your adversaries or your opponents and how to get on their side and see things from their perspective. And then once you know that, you can get back and get them on your side so they can see things from your perspective. And then you can resolve things. You can come to a resolution that both of you will be happy with. And, he was pretty excited about that and was happy to go out and get that book. It really was a good one. For those that are having marital problems, we can always tell if you're having marital problems because you're married. If you were single, you'd have single problems. And so, we know that you've got marital problems. That's how life is. We all have problems in our lives. Anytime we have relationships, we have disagreements. We have a little bit of conflict. But if we know how to handle that conflict resolution will help us get through that, where we can all still be friends at the end and not wind up in divorce, not wind up with people going their separate ways, but instead wind up with everybody on the same page and working together as a team. And that's what's so important about life. And I'm running out of time already, and I really can't believe that my half an hour is gone. But again, if you've gotten any good information from us, if you've been encouraged or uplifted, you learned something new today, if we were able to inspire you, please drop us a line. Again, jim.pate@gmail.com, or our phone number 616-799-0517. Give us a call, drop us a message, leave us a message if we can't answer the phone, and we'd be happy to hear from you. Meanwhile, God bless you. Have a great week. Talk to you next time.
Hi, I'm Larry Treese from Healthcare Associates and Community Caregivers. Just like in sports, when it comes to home health care, you need a good team. We offer private duty nursing, Medicare services, and therapies. We're a part of the community too. We want to be there for you. Give us a call. Home health care at its best, 531-9973.